Hello and welcome to Art, Creativity, and Wellbeing. This is the show where we are always working to support you in giving as much care and love to yourself as you are accustomed to giving to others. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Kay Lockcolp. I am a coach and a facilitator and an artist and an author and a thru hiker who used to need a wheelchair. Today, I've chosen the Zoom background of part of one of the days or one of the moments that I was on my trek in England when I solo hiked across northern England back in 2023. That trip took place during the month of May, and we're just out of May, and so I've kind of been enjoying backgrounds like this one that illustrate and really take me into that trip. So this is a big, beautiful mountain that I walked not up the summit of this particular mountain, but into the valley that's in the distance. And I'm glad to be with you. I have a quickie today. I am just jumping in here, as it turns out, from 1987. I have spent the last week in 1987. And what that really means in practical terms is I decided that while I was going to be spending a little time on retreat, I would make it a real retreat. For the first time ever since there's been the internet, I have not been on the internet at all week. I mostly wanted to get in just to say what a fascinating experiment this has been. And it's really given me a sense of why I have why I've come to rely on the places where we all go to find out information, right? And also what happens inside myself when those things are not available, when those places are not available for me to look up something or check on something or whatever. And one of the other reasons I chose this particular background is because I've been away from home. So I've been doing some hiking and I have been doing some just exploring of the world. And I decided that I would, because I get to make the rules, right? I decided that one important thing that felt important, especially when I'm hiking by myself, is to have a sense of where the trail is, where I'm going. In the US, the trails are marked very, very well typically, especially for the big state parks and big trails. Uh, and so I chose to use, there's an app that I really love that I first used in fact, I even first learned about when I was hiking across northern England in 2023. It's called Gaia. There's many apps like this, but I really like Gaia, and I've chosen to pay for the subscription service that allows me to not only it's got a map of all the trails of like on the entire world, in the entire world, and all around the globe. And you can even take what are called GPX files and you can put them into it. So now it can see those, which is really cool. And uh, the reason for the subscription is because then I can record myself so that if I lose the path, I can look on this app and discover, oh, here's where I lost the path. I can retrace my own steps because I can see them on the app. That when I did the coast to coast path in England, when I was hiking that path, there was very little signage. It was not a national park yet. It's now become a national park. I understand that one of the important improvements that they made was they put a lot more signage in place for the actual coast to coast walk, so people could find their way. Um, but that was a choice that I made, was to keep some amazing innovations, and Gaia was one of them. So I don't know, that felt important to say, like, we get to make our own rules. What I did not do was look anything up. Like actually maybe I won't even say what I didn't do, but instead what I'll share is um what happened as a result. I really wanted to do a quick update and share my learning for you. So let me do that. I learned how incredibly distracted I am in 2026, or have been in 2026. I did not realize how many times an hour or in a 5-minute span, for example, that I would not just have the thought, oh, I'll just go look this up. What was the author of that book? What are some other things that I used that like I just anything you can think of, right? Like what's the name of that band? What is the process by which you do dot dot dot? Even if I'm not really thinking about doing whatever that is, but I just kind of want to know. And you have to, without the internet, you got to be really intentional about what you look up and find out. So one really fun example is on Friday, I decided to go visit an art museum. I drove up to an art museum in Bangor, and I one of the thoughts that I'd had the previous night was I'll share a little bit more about this as it's happening, but I've been invited to have an exhibition of my art that feels so exciting, and I can't wait to take you into it. I need some more details before I actually do take you into it. Um, and I got curious about how does one frame art, not from the sense of like, I know how to physically frame it, because pastels in particular, I've had to learn, they're a little tricky. So I've had to learn how to do that. But how does one aesthetically frame art? Like, what are some principles that you can think about if you're framing art for a show, if you're framing art, to have it look good inside of its frame clothes. And it's funny because I've been able to say, well, I know what I like and what I don't like when I see it or when I've experimented. But I thought, wouldn't it be amazing at first I thought, well, I'll just look it up. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm in 1987. I can't just look it up. So I had the thought driving up to Bangor, I wonder if there's someone I would be able to talk to at this art museum who would like know how to, some principles of framing. And what was really fun is as soon I walked into the building, um, and the first person I met was the person behind the desk, and I said, I'm curious if you know who I might talk to, like a curator maybe or something like that. And the guy said, he said, I'm the preparer. Like, you can talk to me. And he was so lovely. He left the desk. He felt safe to do that. And took me into one of the galleries and showed me exactly what he was thinking, talked about a lot about what he was thinking as he did this and sort of the principles that he brings to it and some places where he's gotten excellent frames and just all kinds of it was so cool to talk shop with someone who knows so much about it and has the capacity to take me into it who's like a noob. So that was really cool. That's just one example of like I had to talk to a human. I had to find a human to talk to. Maybe I would have called someone if I, can you imagine calling someone? My goodness, right? Um, if I hadn't been off to go do this thing where there was someone to support, or I thought there might be someone to support. But so like it's meant that I have been um bringing being very focused on like I'll just sort of catch myself because I'm not just going to my phone. Often I don't even have it near me. um, I didn't have my iPad nearby at all. I didn't have this computer. Like I literally uh, did things in the real world, not in any digital world, which has been so fascinating. I ended up going to a bookstore in Camden, where one of the places we stayed was Camden, and I asked them. I went in and I was like just curious about books and talk. I got to talking with one of the people who works there, and when I when I purchased a book and a bookmark came with it, I said, "Can you write the hours of the bookshop on them because I'm going to want to come back." And I did go back at least twice to paint, to just get a coffee, to hang out at this place it's called the Owl and Turtle Bookshop. It's in Camden, Maine. It's amazing. You should go there. Um, and I said, I'm currently pretending I'm in 1987, so I am not able to look up the hours. And she was like, sure. So like now I have this bookmark that's super cute and like I referenced it several times because I needed to know when it would be open so I could go back and like um I've been handwriting. I'm drafting my next memoir right now. And I at first I thought, oh, I'll bring my computer, but I won't have it online because I like to write with my voice. And instead, what I've been doing is I've had the goal of, oh, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you on this show, but how I wrote Waking Up and how has really evolved into a beautiful way to accomplish any sort of, I would say, any goal that is a creative goal is to do what I call opening the document. This is something that I learned from friends who friends from the education world, but that were writing books about their experiences as educators and or as parents, parenting experts, things like that, because this show used to be for parents of young children. And anyway, from those folks, there's this wonderful idea: just open the document. So I've made it my goal every day to at least quote open the document. And of course, what you think about is like you go to your computer, you open the document that way. But what it has meant is I've gone to my like clipboard and I have literally written down like parts of chapters. Or sometimes it's just I look at it and I go, okay, I opened the document. But it rarely stops there. I don't think I've ever just opened the document and not done anything. There's usually a sentence I can add or an idea for um, a new direction to take a chapter or some note that I can make, some words I can write that will be part of the draft, something. And the other thing I've been doing while I've been in 1987 is I've been reading actual books. So paper copies of books. One of them is called Two Guys Read Jane Austen, written by a coach that I very much admire and feel inspired by, named Steve Chandler, and his best friend from life, who's like a playwright and a really accomplished person in his own right. It's been so interesting to dive back into this book. And Steve quotes well, he doesn't share it as a quote, I think, but he reports on when once upon a time the Beatles were asked, like, how do you write songs? How are you so prolific with your songwriting? And what they said was, there's two things that we always do when we're going to sit down and write a song. First, we sit down, and second, we write a song. And it's like, I love the simplicity of it. So it's been that too. I've just been like, again, I don't have the distractions or the sort of getting pulled away from things that I did typically in 2026 prior to this experiment. So that's one aspect of it. Just a lot more room for creation, a lot more, boy, I'll tell you, some of it's been hard because if you're bored and you want something to fill that space, that's such a habit that I've grown into. And and I feel so good to be back to like just putting my attention in one place. It actually started because I only wanted to be physically in one place, not physically in one place and digitally in many. And I will be so curious as I'm integrating back into 2026 what that's like. So maybe a future one I will do is about that. We'll see. We'll see how that comes into what I share with you on the show. Uh, so creating, not feeling distracted, etc. That is one side of this. The other side of it that has been absolutely fascinating for me is how used to, because these are all habits that we've gotten into, right? Um, is how used I've gotten to, um, I will say, composing things to say to someone and or actually composing like writing to someone or making an update or something like that. I found myself, I remember one time I went skiing by myself. It was like the first time I'd ever gone skiing by myself. It was probably in 2018, maybe 2019, something like that. And I remember having the thought at the mountain, if I do not share about this visit to the mountain to ski in Facebook, did it happen? If I don't memorialize this in some way. Did it happen? Like that was my question. And I laughed as soon as I heard the question inside myself. I laughed because like, of course it happened. We used to all live that way. And I've gotten so far down the road of like checking, um, did I get an email from this person? It's been so interesting because part of what this experience has been is communicating with like host of where we've been staying and how to do that intentionally and not do it in a 2026 way, right? So when I've had to correspond with people, I've honestly I've thought about it as notes when you were in high school, like when someone would pass you a note or like a teacher would write a note and ask you to take it to the principal or something like that. Like sometimes communication happens, but I'm not behaving in a 19 sorry, I'm behaving in a 1987 way of communicating, not in a 2026 way of communicating. And the result again is I just hear, oh, I should do this. Oh, I should do this. Oh, I should talk to that person. Oh, I should remember this. Oh, I should. And it's like, it's so crazy the noise that's been going on in here that I haven't even known about, like that I've not been aware of. And I think of myself as a pretty, one of my strengths is my own awareness and consciousness, inner consciousness. And even with that, it's like this is a whole new layer. So there's the free to create side. And I think I've already gone a fair, I thought, maybe I'll say it this way. I thought I had already gone a fair way towards giving myself permission to create. Um, and this has helped me deepen that in ways that I didn't realize I had sort of, gotten away from. Uh, I am not concerned with, I don't know, finding an agent or publishing it or getting like communicating with people, getting the word out that I'm starting to write it. I'm just the book when I think about the book, for example, or even about this show, like I'm just feeling like I'm creating and amazing things are happening as a serendipity because of that. I'd forgotten that a little bit. Um, because that was the mood or the habit that I was in when I wrote Waking Up was this very wonderful place of like real true introspection, not a lot of distractions. And returning to that feels really, really good. In fact, it's even better because it's at like a 1987 level when for me there was no internet. Whether there was, I feel sure that it was in its infancy somewhere, um, but it wasn't a part of my life yet. And the creation part and the not and the not feeling like I need to stay on top of all of the updates and communications that we are so used to and accustomed to these days. And it's reminded me of this expression that I heard that I feel like maybe it was the people who started Facebook or the people who started Google or somebody who creates online type platforms use the expression like in basically saying we do not let we do not engage in the internet how we observe people using it behave. And what they basically said was, we do not get high on our own supply. And it's like, I love that. I prefer to not have what's the word? Artificial highs. That's the phrase that I was looking for. Instead, I prefer to understand myself and choose from a place of intention who I'm connecting with, how I'm connecting with them. Gosh, getting back into my inbox today, there's probably 30 newsletters, updatey sort of things that come into my inbox, some of which I chose, but a lot of which I did not chose. They've just sort of come in, crept in. Maybe, I mean, I think a couple of years ago, I think there were like hundreds of those, and I unsubscribed from a lot of them or, blocked them or whatever. And getting into email today, I was like, wow, I'm going to have to do another one of those because I I don't want that kind of distraction in my life, and it's showing me what's most important to me. What what do I most care about? And I'm choosing to stay with that. So that's today. That's my update. I I hope it finds you well. And I hope I will say this. This was it felt like quite a brave thing to do as an entrepreneur, a as a parent, as the runner of a community, an online community for people who enjoy like-minded souls and good company. Um, for all of these, it felt like a scary thing to do. Like, first of all, who would I be disappointing if I wasn't there to help? And secondly, what would I do if I needed help in an online way? And I think if, you know, taking the steps that feel important to us to take, that we feel motivated to take, it's just interesting how often those two things come up. What if someone needs me and I'm not there? And what if I need something and I can't get it, basically? And it's sort of another way that this is the learning of my life is that people don't want me to break myself in service to them. And that me doing what's best for me, especially as I do it in integrity, because that's an important, you know, there needed to be some conversations before doing this to have an understanding. For example, I didn't want my wonderful Ben to be feeling like I was just going to be relying on him for internet use because he didn't join me in 1987. So we had a conversation about like how could he feel okay about this um, without feeling like he was suddenly going to be like my personal assistant, figuring stuff on the internet out for me. And so there's lots of ways that I wanted to make sure this was in integrity. And I'm bringing it up because I'm wishing for you, like whatever's going on in your life and whatever you would like your life to be, um, I'm cheering for you as you get it. And I'm sure you're noticing some concerns, some anxieties, perhaps some fears, because this is what happens when human beings try to make change. Is we especially in this current society is like it can be really hard to sort of give ourselves that permission or whatever. And um, yet when we do it and we grow in our confidence, um, it can feel so good. So I'm cheering for you to take whatever steps you feel motivated to take to really live the life that you would like to be living. And and today and always, I'm wishing you very, very well. I will be back next week with a wonderful conversation. I'm really looking forward to bringing to you. And in the meantime, I hope that now that we're both back in 2026, that it's good to you and to yours. And yeah, that life is good for you today. Lots of love. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.